Welcome back to race control of the Volvo Ocean Race. We are now 43 hours into leg 8, and the fleet has just rounded Cape Finisterre. Let's take a look at how they got there on the virtual eye. Overnight, the fleet short-tacked up the coast of Portugal, but they were becalmed late last night until the breeze filled from the northeast. 11 knots inshore, but 25 knots offshore meant big gains for Dongfang race team to get back into the fleet. There was a short tacking duel then off the coast of Cape Finisterre for all but the front two. Hopefully we'll get some incredible helicopter footage of that running later today. They're now all sailing into the building breeze of the Bay of Biscay, which means a brutal 450-mile upwind to Lorient. I'm joined now on Skype by Mike Sanderson, previous winner of this race in 2005. It's great to have you here, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Jenny.
So the race for you in this edition that you won started in this area, but essentially went the opposite direction. You were sailing south. But do you have a lot of experience sailing north in the Bay of Biscay like the fleet now?
Yeah, for sure. A few times, especially in the build-up to that race, we were sponsored by the Dutch bank ABN AMRO. So we had to do a few trips up to the Netherlands with the boat, and so yeah, we got to know that bit of the world pretty well. And yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the Bay of Biscay, it's famously notorious for its weather. You know, it's where on many of the single-handed races, of course, they come unstuck. Not at this time of the year, but sort of towards the end of the year, they get some pretty nasty gales. And so yeah, I mean, it's one of the most notorious places for weather in the world. So it looks like they're in for a bit of it.
Well, and we know actually last night in the conditions that the fleet is sailing into now, one of the Figaro boats dismasted. The fleet was actually sent to shore. So we're hoping, we hear that the conditions will deteriorate a little bit, not deteriorate, get better for the fleet as the breeze dies for them. But what do you think? The options right now for the fleet are to go offshore into more breeze, or essentially to go along the shore into what's expected to be later on a right shift and less breeze. If you're, say, Team SCA, which option do you go for?
I think, you know, the router does a very good job of playing this game, especially the teams like SCA, which have had the time in the boat leading up to the race. You know, they've got very good guys in their guys and girls in their shore team. They've got a ton of experience on board. You know, it's definitely Sam Davies', you know, home patch of water. You know, she's done all her Figaro stuff there, all her short-handed stuff around the Bay of Biscay. So, you know, they know it well. I'm pretty sure, I haven't run any routes to see what they're doing, or what they're likely to do, but they'll go where the shift is most advantageous for them. You know, once it's blowing more than about 15, 17 knots of wind, the boats are going as fast as they're ever going to go upwind. And then what's going to slow you down is sea state after that. So, you know, you would never go charging out into the big breeze upwind, because you're going to go slower and you're going to risk breaking your boat. And from what you're saying, it would be against the shift. So, you know, what's nice for SCA is if it does become that much of a one-way track, well, then they'll get to lead into there, and the others will have to follow them, and that'd be nice for them.
Do you think that we actually have a local knowledge in any way coming into play here? We have SCA, obviously, Sam Davies has spent a lot of time in the Bay of Biscay, but we also have the Spanish team Montfrey, a lot of the guys from that northern coast of Spain. How much does that help their sailing and their decision-making at this point?
I think it depends how rough it gets. I mean, Sam has the luxury of having had to survive many, as I was talking about before, of these October, November single and double-handed races start in this part of the world. The Transat Jacques Vabre, the Vendée Globe, the Route de Rome, and stuff in the Figaro boats as well. So, you know, Sam, Charles, you know, yeah, there's a few of them that have done a lot of that stuff. They've got very good at surviving. Then, of course, you've got the Ian Walkers that had to survive bashing up to China 2 races ago in the Volvo race. So, the fleet's very experienced, having to get their boats through these conditions. So, I'm sure they've all got very good people at doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of the good people, you've sailed. This is a image we're getting on board Montfray right now. Unfortunately, the connection isn't that amazing, but at least we can see they're heeled. They've got a lot of reefs, it looks like, in that mainsail. And you know at least Rob Greenough quite well because you sailed with him, correct?
Yeah, Rob was on ABN AMRO, yeah.
What do you think of his experience being brought to this team? I mean, he was a late addition. He wasn't there for the first leg, and then they brought him in and have kept him since, obviously, as a watch captain as well. So they must think he's bringing a lot to the team.
Yeah, I mean, Rob joined ABN AMRO, which is now, when he joined, it's nearly, it's 10 years ago. So, he was the young hot shot. At that time he was the 14-footer and 18-foot skiff world champ. Incredibly fast helmsman, but had little disregard for the boat's survival, because he was just used to the pedal to the metal stuff. Since then, he's done, 3 more races, and he's now going to be one of the wise old bulls on board. And so, for sure, Rob will have kept his pace. He just will have got a lot of maturity, and his understanding of, keeping the boat in one piece will have come a long way. I know it has because I've sailed with them in other projects since. So, yeah, I mean, Rob will be doing a nice job there. I mean, it's interesting to see them there. The image was pretty blurry, but it looked like they were on port from what I could see here. So that means they're still toughing it out on the coast, whereas the leaders are legging it out on starboard tack from the look of their tracks.
They had actually just tacked when we started the show. We had them on the phone, they tacked, and we're thinking that the satellite connection through the sails were not good for us, unfortunately. But let's talk about another guy who's come up through the fleet, who essentially has matured as he's raced the Volvo Ocean Race. Phil Harmer. Actually, let's watch a short video of him yesterday getting ready for the race.
Been a little bit slow, easing into the upwind sailing of what leg is it? 8? Leg 8, Volvo Ocean Race. Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been close racing with most boats. We've had some good tussles with Matt Frey just down here, Brunel on the bow. Alpha Medical were with us, but they went that way. Ladies are on fire. Dongfong, not having the best time, I don't think. I'm always tired. Off watches haven't really been very good. Been doing a lot of tacking and moving stuff constantly. So no one's really had a good off watch yet. But it's finished air early morning and tomorrow. So we're expecting a nuke off. No one's going to sleep for another day anyway, so. And then we're there. So we can sleep in our hotel.
So that was clearly before they got into the breeze that they are now sailing into. But Mike, you're familiar with Phil as well, and he's essentially come up through the ranks from when he was on the youth boat with ABN AMRO too.
Yep.
What do you think of his progression?
Oh, I mean, Phil's done incredibly well. I know Phil very well. We're long-time friends. After he won the trials with ABN, unfortunately, he left that team and ended up doing bits of that race on Brunel. And then after the race, he rang me for advice, and I said, listen, you just got to pick someone and just pester them to death until they take you sailing enough. And about a month later, he rang me back and said, oh, it was great advice, and I've chosen you. And so how about it? And persistence does beat resistance. And he ended up doing all our stuff on ABN after the race and did a great job. And from there, he's just gone from strength to strength. So including, of course, winning the last race on Groupe Armas. So, no, he's a great trimmer, great driver, very clever sailmaker. And so he's turning himself into a Volvo
vet.
one of the old boys of the Volvo race now.
Yeah, and a jokester as well. We also have another young guy on board Team Vestas Wind. He actually had his 25th birthday during this race, and we got some footage from them just before the breeze as well.
A lot of the Volvo Ocean races offshore we don't see land for weeks, but these last few legs is going to be a lot of coastal racing, and I think that's pretty good for us. We're a bunch of group of sailors, who's all done a lot of inshore racing and a lot of boat-to-boat racing, and I think that's, the trickier the racing is, I think the better it is for us right now, because we don't have the same experience in straight line speed. We're more about trying to figure out the different wind strategies and different boat-to-boat strategies, and then make it work and come together.
And now I think we actually have on the phone Libby Greenhoff. We were talking about her brother earlier, Rob Greenhoff, who's on Montfray. Libby is the navigator on board Team SCA. Are you there with us, Libby?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. I have Mike Sanderson on the line as well. We were just discussing the options for you guys. And of course, congratulations for the big lead that you've built so far. Coming into the Bay of Biscay now, it looks like you could either go offshore into more wind or at some point tack into the coast. What are you expecting to do?
At the moment, we are heading offshore, currently into more wind, probably in the most wind, but also by heading offshore, we're kind of, in the big picture, probably going to escape some of the worst wind that you get around the corner, tacking. But we decided it wasn't really the best option to keep hugging the coast while you can get a bit more of a shift in the big picture. We didn't think it was great, especially as tacking in 35 knots is probably really quite hard and not really a winning thing to have to try and do. So we're going for pushing offshore, and it looks like on the latest sketch that while the fleet slightly further behind has started doing some short tacks inshore, Vestas look like they're following us.
Are you 35 knots right now?
Yeah. Well, I just saw 35 knots. We're pretty much 30 to 32. Gusting 35, probably a little bit more.
And how's the mood on board? I mean, this is a huge lead for you guys. I think the biggest lead that you've had in this race. Is it exciting, or is it just work as always with 35 knots and big seas?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting. I think, it's obviously been a tricky first sort of day and a half, and we managed to wiggle our way into the position. And I think up until now, we were obviously, there were plenty of transitions, and it could all turn around. I think, we're also well aware that there's some big breeze, and, that we're only just probably getting towards halfway on this leg, and anything can happen. So, yeah, everyone's just focusing on that. And especially in this 30 to 35 knots, at some point we are going to have to do a tack, and that's all pretty hard work, and everyone's lacking a bit of sleep. But yeah, it's a big push, and I think when we start to get near the French coast, it'll really ramp up on board.
Fair enough, thanks so much. Mike, do you have any questions for Libby?
No, Libby, you're doing an amazing job. Lots of people are definitely, you've got an amazing fan squad, especially here in New Zealand. And so keep up the good work. Sounds like you need some sleep, though. So now that you've left the coast, try and get some sleep.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Libby, for joining us. And as he says, get some sleep, but good luck to you guys out at the front. So thank you, Moose, for joining us. Thank you all online as well. As we heard from Libby, it might just get a little bit worse as they go offshore into bigger breeze before it gets better. Hopefully, we'll get you some helicopter images later today of the fleet just off Cape Finisterre that we got this morning at sunrise in a tacking duel. And as we told you yesterday, the fleet was greeted by a beautiful pod of dolphins. Here's some footage that we'll leave you with of Amory Ross on board Elvie Medica, and we'll see you at 4 p.m. UTC.